All right, we are live. Welcome, Karina, to the Studio Fertility podcast. I wanted to bring this beautiful lady on today because she is amazing in every sense of the word. I know you shouldn't have your favorite clients, but she is for so many reasons that I really wanted to bring her on and showcase her today because her story is amazing. She is amazing. And I can't wait for you to hear all about this beautiful woman, Karina.
Oh, thank you, Bella.
That's okay. We had such a good time together during our sessions, didn't we? Which I know some people might find hard to believe because, when people come to me, they're usually a bit down and out. So talk to me a little bit. Let's go right back to the beginning, which I know was a little while ago now, and just talk about, how you came to me and what made you decide to follow this mind-body approach to pregnancy.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, it was quite a journey. I'd been trying to conceive for, it was probably, I think, a couple of years by the time I came to you. And I thought I'd tried so many things already. I'd done, I was doing acupuncture and I was trying to do meditation and, seeing a naturopath to take all sorts of supplements, and so I was really doing everything that I thought I could to conceive my baby. And then I came across you when in Facebook there was like a 5-day mind-body challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, and that really resonated with me because obviously at that point I just felt that there was obviously something that was preventing me from conceiving my child. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go.
And was there something during that week that really resonated with you? What was the thing that resonated with you the most, do you think? Can you remember back that far? Because there's been a lot of changes since then.
That's right. And it's been, it was almost 2 years ago. I think a lot about the mindset and your limiting beliefs. So I think what resonated with me is at that point in time, I wasn't really that happy. Obviously, my marriage was fine, but in terms of the rest of my life, so I was just so desperately trying to get pregnant that, I wasn't really happy in my job. And that was a big part of it. I think I learned in that 5 days that it's a big part of trying to conceive your child is to live your life being happy. Because if you're miserable all the time, which I felt like I was just staying in my job till I got pregnant. And then my plan was I'd just, I'd go on mat leave and that would be it. So I was just sort of plodding through life and not really enjoying my life. And that's what resonated with me because that's how I felt. And I hadn't realised, I think, before doing that challenge that I had felt that way. I thought I was okay, and I was okay, but I wasn't happy and I wasn't loving life. And that's what made me, so after that 5-day challenge, that's what made me come to you for some one-on-one coaching.
Fantastic. Because I remember actually when you were doing that 5-day challenge, I think it was only after about day 2, you sent me a message on Messenger and you said that, or it might have been in the Facebook group, and you said that 2 women that you knew had just announced their pregnancies, and normally that would make you go home and just bawl your eyes out. and while you were a little disappointed, you hadn't cried and you didn't take it on board as something for you to be really upset about. And you said, this is like working already. And that was day 2 of a free 5-day challenge. So I was like, oh, great. This is amazing.
That's right. And that's another thing that part of that mindset. I was always so upset, when friends would announce their pregnancy, close friends or work colleagues, or you even seeing people in the street, pregnant, I'd feel that twinge of sadness and disappointment. But that did turn around very quickly.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you, because you take the stuff that I teach and that I guide you with, and you take it to the next level and you make it your own, which is, you decided this is enough. I draw my line in the sand. I'm moving forward. I'm doing this differently. And you really did everything and more. And it was just so amazing. I loved talking to you. I loved our coaching sessions so much, because I'm like, great. And what are we going to uncover today? How are we going to move forward? And, you really went from someone who, was a bit down and out, to someone who was like, would go through something quite devastating and would bounce really quickly. And it was just amazing, because you're like, right, I don't need to stay in this misery. I don't need to stay here. I can process it, live authentically, and move forward. Oh, I cannot tell you how amazing this woman is. Anyway, so let's just clue people in on how old you were at that time, your diagnoses, because people like that kind of thing, because I think we get a little bit too hung up on it, but I think it's important to share.
Yeah, of course. So at that time, I would have been, that's a very good question, 39.
Yeah, I think it was 39. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had miscarriage previously when I was about 35. And then that was with a previous partner, so there was a bit of time in between. And then when I was about 38, had another miscarriage. And then and that's when, so those two pregnancies had happened quite easily for me. So I thought,
yeah, and they were natural. They were natural pregnancies.
Yeah,
yes.
Natural. Yep. Yeah, so the first one happened very easily, and actually the second one, which was the first with my current husband, was an accident. So we weren't even trying. So I thought, well, when we're ready to try again, it will happen really quickly and easily for me, which it didn't. So much to my dismay. And I had been diagnosed with polycystic ovaries about 5 years before that. So I'd never really had regular periods. So that was obviously a factor, because it's hard to know when to even try to conceive if you're not really sure when you're ovulating. I've got an underactive thyroid, but that's managed by my thyroxine. So when my husband and I were ready, we started trying to get pregnant again, and that's when it just wasn't happening.
Nope, dogs. That's all right. It's life. It's all good. That's what we're here to talk about, real life.
Yeah, that's right. And so we'd only been trying, I think, a month or two, and I went to my doctor just for a script for more thyroxine. Mm-hmm. And sorry, and the GP said to me, oh, because of your age, and that's the first time I'd heard the term advanced maternal age. I was quite horrified. It's
one of my favorites. Yeah. Oh, I can't stand it.
I was so deeply offended. She said, you better get to an IVF clinic to get some help, because of your age and your polycystic ovaries, you really can't waste any time. So we tried a little bit longer, but by the in the new year, it was about March, we started doing ovulation induction just to get a bit of help with my cycle, so we would know when to try. But that was sort of month after month of it not working, and that's when I started to really get very disheartened and disillusioned with it. Again, because the IVF doctors, as well as my GP, had said about my age and my polycystic ovaries and the quality of my eggs, that it started to really freak me out, because I was like, I felt really panicked that I just was running out of time, and every month was a month closer to running out of time. You just don't know how much time you have. Everyone would try and reassure me that they knew people who got pregnant at 43, but obviously that's not the case for everyone. So I worried about when I would run out of time, and so so by the time I got to you, so I'd started the ovulation induction cycles in the March, and then I did that the Mind Body Challenge in I think about the May.
In May,
and
yeah,
that's
it was May. Mm-hmm.
and that's when I really needed it, because by then I was feeling really down about everything, and then by the August I was pregnant.
Yes,
So that
I
was
remember.
and that was my last round of ovulation induction. The doctor had said,
Oh,
do one
that's
more
right.
round.
Yeah, it's been a while, so jogging my memory. Yeah, it was
And he
the
said, if
last
it doesn't work, you have to do IVF.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want me to do that last round, but I said, just I want to try one more time. And it worked. Unfortunately, I did have a miscarriage.
Yeah.
7 weeks and saw a heartbeat and then miscarried. But and that was very devastating. But at the same time, I felt good knowing that my body could do it. And obviously, techniques with you to get me through that point as well, and to keep trying.
Because we went through many devastating moments on your journey together. And that's what I want people to understand with fertility coaching as well, is like, because we're working on so many different pieces all the time and helping people, I'm helping people through the journey. Crappy things can still happen. But it's like when you get all the pieces together that magic happens. And sometimes, you might get pregnant along the way where we haven't slotted in all the pieces yet that are gonna make the real difference for that person. Sometimes it happens quickly, and sometimes, it just takes a little moment to get out what's going to make the difference for that person. Don't you think?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you agree, but no, I mean,
but I think that's right. And as we went along, even with those disappointments, I was uncovering more and more about myself too.
Yes.
And so I think that, I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason, even the shitty stuff. So even though it was devastating at the time, I learned a lot from it, like about myself, and and it got me to the point where I am today. So,
and you're willing to see your fertility journey as a platform for personal growth, which it so is. It's like, and that's exactly how I approached my fertility journey when I was going through it, to solve a number of issues and kind of get my life steering in the right direction, because that's, also what we've done for you. Not all your ducks are in a row, would you say? Because, you're still in the same job.
yeah.
But you're working towards something else. So not everything has to be perfect for it to, for the issue to be resolved, or the conflicts within our unconscious mind to allow us to conceive our baby.
That's right. That's right. I think it's just getting on the right path. As you said, you don't have to be at that final destination, but be on the right track.
So what was the biggest benefit, do you think, of working together?
Well, that's hard because there's quite a few. And I agree with you. Like, we always had fun in our sessions, which was really good. And I always left, even the first session, I walked away from that session feeling really good. But the biggest benefit, probably, because it's been quite a spiritual journey, so I've loved that I'm now on that sort of different path.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I think it's been about finding, because a lot of what we worked on in the beginning was about career and finding something that I was passionate about.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I was just going to stay stuck in this job. Say it did take me to 43, that would have been 5 years at that time of being miserable in a job that I wasn't miserable, but I didn't feel passionate about it. I liked it, but it wasn't what I felt was my calling.
Well, that's it. It's like you're in a job that is a very good job. You're very successful at it. You can do it really well, all of that. But it just was lacking a little bit of extra meaning to you in terms of where you wanted to go in your life. And that's the difference. It's not like it was a bad job. It wasn't a toxic environment. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a little bit of a dissatisfaction within yourself about where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do.
That's right. Because that's what I've discovered, that I'd started that career. I mean, I've been in my career for 14 years. And when after, spending 6 years at uni and getting into that profession, realizing after a long, I mean, I've enjoyed it, that's right. But then, I got to the point 14 years later where I thought, well, I just don't think this is what I'm meant to be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I have really enjoyed it, but I felt like it was time for a change, but I didn't know what that was. And I thought having a baby going on maternity leave was what it was going to be. But obviously you've got to find something else to make you happy here and now, which I did. You helped me uncover that. So then I've started, certainly I'm still in that same job. I'm enjoying it more because I've got this other focus that I'm doing some part-time study to work towards something different. And that's what, I enjoy my job more now because I've got that other passion on the side.
Yeah, it was so quick for you too. You were just like, oh, now I'm not dragging myself into my job because now I've got my direction and I know where I'm going. So this is easy. I'm back to kind of enjoying my everyday again, which was so amazing.
Yeah.
And what was another benefit of working together, do you think? Because we looked at your life as a whole and we went, where is the stress? Where is the lack, I suppose? And one of those was definitely career. Where else do you think you got benefit from coaching?
Well, I think I was also then looking at making my life enjoyable outside of work. So I started doing like swimming and singing lessons.
Yes. Love the singing lessons.
Trying to find an outlet for to be more creative and more feminine than that. I had so much masculine energy in my life, like with my career, that just doing things that I would find would be relaxing and enjoyable.
There wasn't a balance for you, was there?
Yeah, that's right. So yes,
did that feminine.
Yeah. So swimming, singing, bit more yoga and meditation.
That's right.
So,
I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but I loved the singing. That was fun.
Yes. Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. So I did those lessons for over a year.
Yeah, and that was not something that you'd ever done before or ever thought about doing before.
But I loved it.
Yeah. And that came about because of your husband, right? Because he was a good singer and you wanted to
to have sing along,
have a family band.
That's right, like the Von Trapp family, except with only one child.
Yeah, with one child. That's fine, doesn't matter.
But I had actually done, because he was a singer, and I had done Johnny Young talent time school when I was 8. Yeah, and I had thought that was going to be my big career. And so I must have had a passion for it back then when I was young, and then it just fell away. So it was good to get back into that. And then my husband and I have, we do probably about once a week, we get out the microphones and have a karaoke session together.
Nice. That's great.
Fun.
And would you say that's also brought you together closer as a couple?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it's something that we can enjoy together that's not just sitting down watching Netflix. So it's something that because he really enjoys that time together too. So it's good.
That's good. And so where do you think you would be now without coaching?
Oh, well, probably still in the same spot I was 2 years ago. So probably just plodding through my job and not having those extracurricular activities to do. But I suppose most importantly is that I'm now pregnant.
Yes.
So I'd probably be still trying to conceive. So obviously we kept up with our sessions after that miscarriage I had in the August, and I moved on to IVF after that in the new year. So I gave myself time to process everything and keep trying naturally for a couple of months, and then you guided me through that IVF journey. That was all of last year, really, my IVF journey,
which was so fascinating to me when you learn at the end here, well, not at the end of this podcast, but at the end here of her journey of how she actually got pregnant. So tell everyone about what happened with IVF.
Yeah, right. So I had 3 rounds in total. The first one was in March, just before COVID struck. So that was stressful in itself because wasn't sure whether the egg collection would go ahead because they were, talking about putting a hold on surgeries. And the first round,
you were nicely stimulated, and then
yeah,
maybe not going to have your egg collection. Yeah, that's
yes,
yes.
yes. So and I've got a good number of eggs again because I've got polycystic ovaries. Luckily, I always get a really good number of eggs. But we had, I think there were about 20 eggs collected off the top of my head, and maybe only like 5 of them fertilized. And then by day 5, I had none. Like none had survived to day 5. So that was really devastating. And they had done that the sort of natural way, in a petri dish where they
did some fertilize? I thought you got nothing the first time around.
Yeah, we did get some, but none to day 5. Like by day 3 was looking good, and then day 5 there was nothing.
Yeah.
So then they said, because you've had such a low number fertilized, then we're going to try ICSI, which is where they inject a single sperm into each single egg. So we waited a couple of months and tried that method, thinking, well, this will work because, they're actually helping the fertilization process. And then on that round, again, we got a good number, probably say around 20. And that's where the next day, none had fertilized at all.
Yeah,
and that was probably my very lowest point in my journey.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a really hard day to hear that, because I thought, I expected the numbers to be better than the first time, not worse.
Well, exactly. And I think going into IVF, you had expected this to be the answer as well, because,
that's right.
You'd done all the, acupuncture and naturopath and all of this. You had done all the ovulation induction, and now here you were, okay, the ovulation induction had worked to a point, but it hadn't worked. So let's go on to IVF. Now we can really control the process. And you weren't even getting anything to transfer. Like, it was just worse than ovulation induction.
That's
and
right.
I was like, and I found that so interesting, like from a medical point of view, because IVF can be great for so many people. And, I used IVF, so I loved it, obviously, because I got my baby from it. But for some people, it just, for you, you were like this, probably less than 1% of results. And that was heartbreaking. And yet you went through it and came out the other side so quickly that I was always checking in on you to make sure that you were grieving properly, wasn't I? I was like, are you sure? Have you cried enough? Like, make sure you feel your emotions and process this, because I really, because that is such a big part of what I do when people first come to me, is make sure they're actually feeling and processing their emotions. And I find when people do, like you were doing, but I was just, double checking that, when you actually do feel your feelings and process them, but are able to also know how to impact your own mindset and where you're going, that you do bounce pretty quickly. You don't stay miserable for very long.
That's right. That's right. And that's, I think that was, again, one of the main benefits I got from working with you, was to learn about just feeling your feelings, because, it's hard to feel that grief. And I used to just sort of try and push it down. But that was something very valuable I learned from you. And I think that's what does help you bounce back quicker, because you're not trying to bottle it and push it down. You do process it and deal with it, which is hard, but then it makes the process quicker. I think you get over it quicker if you deal with it and process it. So,
but you were doing it within days. you know, and I knew that you still probably had some down moments after that, but you were really bouncing fast and going, you know what, my life is great. I'm getting on with my life. And, you know, but you'd really come to a point at that stage too of like, well, two things. It's like you knew, I remember you telling me, I know that if I don't have a baby, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
And you really had come to that, you know what, my life is good and I've got all this meaning and purpose and so many elements of my life are working so well now. And we tweaked like the smallest little things in your life, you know, even your marriage, which was rock solid, you know, we identified like small little things just about thinking about parenting or, you know, how to communicate a little bit more. And when you worked on those, it just made your relationship that much stronger and that much better. But there were little things, like it was a solid relationship to start with. But sometimes, you know, it is those little 1%ers that you need to get
That's right.
to make everything all singing, all dancing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really said to me, I've come to a place where I know I'll be all right if I don't have a baby. And yet at the same time, I felt like you had this knowing that you would be a mum anyway, and you're okay with that. And time hadn't become this factor anymore. Is that
That's
fair to
right.
say?
Yes, definitely. And I
Yeah.
think and I can't remember at what point I came to that. I had that sort of knowing, but I think probably deep down I always knew that I would be a mum. It was just that panic over running out of time. But then I started, you know, when you start to enjoy your life, I suppose I stopped trying to control so much. And I thought, well, I'm doing everything I can be doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, leave the rest up to the universe and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just live life every day, enjoying it. And that's, again, something that you taught me.
So where were we up to? We're up to IVF number 2.
Yes,
Yes.
2 was a failure. And again, as you said, though, it was so baffling because when you look statistically at the amount of times I'd gotten pregnant and then the number of eggs I had in
naturally
IVF,
as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
It
think,
didn't make
well, it
sense.
could happen naturally, but then all these eggs through IVF wouldn't fertilize. So, and the doctors, of course, couldn't give me any explanation as to why. It's just one of those things, apparently. So we went to do a third round, and again, they suggested different ways of tweaking it with using different methods to try and improve the fertilization. And again, I got a good number of eggs. We had a really good number fertilized that time. And, you know, good number on day 3, really still, again, a good number on day 5, but none of them were quite big enough. So they gave it one more day to day 6. And on day 6, I only had 2 left. So
but at that stage, we were like, great, we've got 2. This is amazing. We might have something to transfer. So, yeah.
Yeah. So even though, because on day 5, there were 8. So I was thinking, I should have at least half of that. But on day 6,
you're going to have your musical Von Trapp family at that stage.
So then I was disappointed to only have 2, but I thought, well, it only takes 1, right? So, and of those 2, 1 was frozen, not big enough to be tested. And obviously I wanted to test because I'd had the miscarriages, which they had assumed was because of a chromosomal problem. So the other egg was okay to be tested. So we sent that off for testing. That came back as having an extra chromosome. So we weren't able to use that one. So after a lot of umming and ahhing, I thought, well, look, I'm going to take my chances and try that one single one we had that wasn't able to be tested. And I thought, you know, try that first. And then if that doesn't work, then I can shut the door on that one and try a 4th round of IVF. And so I was taking all the drugs to make my body ovulate so that they could do the transfer. And that was exciting because that was, as we said, my very first transfer.
I just want to let people in on something too, is like, because you also had this, you know, in your back pocket that you had done an egg collection. How old were you when
That's
you had done that?
So 38. I just turned 38.
So you'd done an egg collection to kind of preserve your fertility, so to speak, as people do, and have those ready for when you met Mr. Right, and then you met Mr. Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't use those straight away because there was a minefield of decisions for you along the way with this, wasn't there?
That's right. And even the doctors were hesitant to let me use those eggs. I kept saying, I should use them, they'll be better quality. But they said they were obviously, while we were trying to figure out how to get fertilization to happen, they said, leave them till later. I suppose, use my eggs now while we can. And then, they just, so I've actually still got those frozen eggs because we didn't use them because they, and luckily, because if I had, they might have been in that batch that didn't fertilize and I would have lost them all.
Yeah.
But it was hard at the time because you think, well, maybe I'm going through all this for nothing. Maybe I should be using my frozen eggs and they'll be better.
Yeah.
Lots of decisions to have to make.
And
so,
how did you navigate that, do you think? I mean, I know that we talked constantly about these kind of things.
And I think it made sense, I suppose, what the doctor said about waiting, use the eggs I've got now before they get older and save the frozen ones for a bit further down the track. But it was hard to sort of make those decisions. But I suppose just trying to listen to my intuition rather than make decisions out of fear and panic. Really sort of just try to listen to what my intuition was telling me.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that I've learned from.
And I was trying to get it out of you.
A lot, but that's true. A lot of decisions through my whole journey were made out of fear and panic, starting from when the GP said to me, "Oh, you better quickly get to an IVF clinic. You're running out of time." It was all just panic stations from then on. And that's not the best mindset to have when you're trying to make these important decisions.
And I think when I'm starting to work with people too, and probably in the beginning, this may have been true for you, you were still making some decisions out of fear and panic until we started to, and that's why I work with people for a little while, because we need to build up that muscle, let go of the need to know everything. We have this massive need for certainty. Like, if I just knew I was going to get pregnant, then I could relax. But it's like, and of course, we'd all relax if we knew we were getting pregnant. But it's being able to, let go of all that fear, because it is so much fear, and just to be able to tap into yourself. And that's a really hard thing to do. Don't get me wrong. It's like, this is why, it takes a little while to get to that point where people can actually go, okay, I'm going to tap into me and make this decision. And this feels like the right next decision to make. And I feel good about this. And even if I look back, I'll know that this was the right decision for me.
That's right.
And you really, you really got there, and you were like, okay. And this is what I love about this last part, because you had a big decision to make on this on this transfer cycle.
Yeah, that's right. So, so obviously I did decide to take my chances with that untested egg, embryo, and they were giving me the injections to make me ovulate, so then I could have the transfer. And so I was so excited, because the first transfer I was ever going to have, and I thought, this is really, it should be it, because I'd had these natural pregnancies before. I thought it'll be smooth sailing from here. And then the day of the transfer, they rang me and told me that the embryo didn't thaw properly, and it didn't survive the thaw, is the words they used, which I was not expecting at all.
No.
Say the least. Apparently it only happens 10% of the time. So I was one of those lucky 10% people.
Yeah. You'd been so lucky throughout all of it.
I know.
The not fertilizing, or the not making it to day 5, or the not, you were really in that minority.
Yeah, every time. So,
but I was so impressed with your amazing attitude during that time as well. Like, Like, I was just like, I'm in awe of this woman. She is amazing. She's just really taken this coaching and taking it to a new level, made it her own, like really is taking on board the mindset and
Yeah.
staying open to possibility, which you did.
Yes. Yeah, and that's right. See, I didn't even cry when I got that news, and I think because my mindset had changed so much by that point from my coaching and the work I'd been doing, that I just felt okay about it. But I had, so the nurses had said to me not to be trying to conceive naturally at that time because in case I got
transfer.
twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing transfer. They said,
and you're like, oh, big bummer, twins. You know.
Yeah. 2 for 1. But it just didn't sit well with me. I thought, why would you be wasting a good egg? You
or
know,
an egg
cover
on
all
that
bases.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that I was growing naturally, to actively not try and conceive, just didn't feel right to me. I thought, well, let's just cover all our bases. I thought, I've had so much bad luck. I doubt that both are going to work and I'm going to have twins. I did run it past my doctor though, and she agreed. She said, go for it. So we were sort of, I suppose, you know,
actually I'm going to stop you there, because I remember that time, and it's one of those times where we, you know, when you have a decision like that to make, it can feel like a big thing. And like most people, and I do it in my own life, is you go around asking other people's opinions.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? No, how about you over there? Like, I don't even know you. What do you think? Trying to seek that answer outside of yourself because you want some confirmation that it's okay. And I remember you coming to me and going, what should I do? And I'm like, no, you have to do something that feels good to you, rightly or, you know, whichever way that it falls, you have to do what feels good to you. And I remember you said that and it's funny, you thought that I had an opinion on it already about which way to go, and I so did not. And I'm like, no, you are making that up in your head. I never said anything like that. This is all on you. And you went away and you meditated, and I gave you a technique to kind of like make this decision, and you were like, and I thought it'd be like a 5-minute process. I really did. I thought, oh yeah, I should make that decision in 5 minutes. And I asked you about it, and you, I said, oh, how are you going? Have you made the decision? You go, oh, it took me 45 minutes to shut up my brain. And I love that so much. I was like, wow, but you stuck to it, right? I mean, you had a time-sensitive decision to make, but you stuck with it for that 45 minutes to actually shut down that conscious rabbiting on that goes on, to actually be able to sink down into yourself, into your intuition, to make that decision that actually felt good to you without all the fear and crap clouding your decision, which just, I loved it so much. Like 45 minutes.
And that's something I wouldn't have been able to do before, or I wouldn't have even thought of doing, but as a way of making the right decision for myself.
And some of us wouldn't even you know, have the patience to do that, but you were determined to do it and shut up your brain. And I think that's sometimes what we do on the coaching, on the fertility journey, is that we don't sit with ourselves for long enough, because we have so much fear and stuff clouding our judgment. We don't sit with ourselves long enough to actually receive those messages, or create the space for long enough to receive those messages about what feels right.
Absolutely. That's right.
So, okay, keep going.
So we did, we were then trying to conceive naturally at the same time. Then, as I said, on the day of the transfer, it didn't go ahead because the thaw, you know, didn't survive the thaw. So then I thought, okay, and the doctor said, let's touch base.
So did you feel like maybe that you didn't have to worry because you still had another chance, or do you remember your mindset?
I think, even though I was quite upset at the time, I think I wasn't as devastated as I would if we had not tried to conceive naturally, and I knew that that was it, and I was doing a 4th round in a couple of months. Probably I would have felt a lot more upset. But I think because we tried naturally, I thought in the back of my mind, I thought there's still a chance. The doctors had led me to believe that it's highly unlikely, but I thought, but there's still a chance, you know. So I think that.
And you'd done ovulation and induction so many times before with nothing happening. So, you know, you could have taken the mindset of like, oh yeah, this probably won't work either, given all the stuff that you had leading up. But no, not you, Karina. You were like, there's still a chance. Is that a dog down there? Is that a dog you were looking at? Yeah.
And so then I had a phone appointment with my doctor about a week and a half later to then talk about when to try a 4th round. And I mentioned to her that I didn't have my period yet. And she got all excited and said, you need to come in for a blood test. I think you might be pregnant.
And this was a Saturday, if I recall.
Yes. Because I said to her, no, I'm not going to waste time coming down there because half an hour trip each way. And I thought, I'll probably just get my period tonight. So I'll come in Monday morning if I still haven't got it by then. But then, so we had finished the conversation, and then I rushed down to the shops to buy a urine test because curiosity got the better of me.
But would the old Karina have like been so patient and gone, no, I'm not going in for a blood test?
No, I don't think so. I would have been like in the car. Actually, my husband was shocked when I told him. He couldn't believe that I wasn't on my way there calling him already. But I called him and said, I'm just going to wait till Monday. So, yeah.
Because you rang me as well and we were chatting. And I remember being shocked as well. I'm like, what have you done with Karina? Because that was one of the things that we were actually kind of working on. And we used to laugh about a lot anyway, of like, oh, here's Karina being impatient again, right?
Yes, never been my virtue.
No, and I love that. I mean, that makes you who you are, makes you the achiever and the person that you are, that it's created, you know, this amazing life for yourself. Yeah. But at the same time, we knew, I think, in the fertility journey, that this impatience was probably something that was a little bit of a resistance for you.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I think a lot of that impatience came down to, again, fear and panic.
Yes.
So that's where that was coming from, I think. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this is that I work very intuitively with my clients, and I was so connected to you because you had been so wonderful to me when I was, you know, Karina was willing to play, and Karina was willing to play full out, everyone. Because I had done a channeling course during when I was coaching her. And even though I help people, you know, amazingly without channeling, it was something that I was, you know, been trying to add to my repertoire, or, you know, and get better at. And she would let me channel her higher self and do all of these things. And we had some really connected, weird and amazing experiences during that. And I mean, we can get onto that in a little bit, but I just wanted to say that when you said that, when you said, oh yeah, I decided not to go in for a blood test, you know, I'll wait until Monday, just the energy I felt around you was so different, because we were so connected, I think, and intuitively like, yeah, this feels different. This feels different.
Yeah, and I did. I felt really good. Yeah, I did. Obviously, because I'd done so much work, I think by that point, I did feel different. And it was good. It was a relief to feel that way. Yeah.
I imagine.
And well, that's right. So I took a urine test, and it was positive. So, and then I still sort of thought, oh, maybe it might be from the drugs, like the injections I had to take.
Sure.
But the doctor said, no, that would all be out of your system by now. So come in on Monday for a blood test. And then, yeah, I confirmed it on Monday. And actually, you were the first person I rang to tell.
course. Because I think that's what people don't know about me. I think before they start coaching with me, is like, I will be your best friend. I am on your journey. I am in it.
Yeah.
I am more excited about it than you in many ways. I don't always remember all the details like 2 years past, but that's because I have to let some of it go to make room for the new people that I'm like in it with. But I will be in it with you every single day if that's what you need. And that's what I loved about you. You really utilized me in that way. And so we could get really connected, and I could really help you on that instinctive level.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I wanted to mention, because I knew that you were coming up to this transfer, and there'd been something that'd been on my mind as your coach. You know what I'm going to say now. Yeah.
Yes.
There'd been something that'd been on my mind, and it was one of those things. It's like the unconscious mind can be a tricky thing to work with sometimes, and it only reveals to us at certain stages kind of what we're ready for, I think. And or, you know, sometimes it's just hard to dig down enough to get that little gem that's going to make the difference.
Yeah.
And we'd done a meditation during one of our sessions, and there was a little nugget that came up that I was just like, intuitively, I feel like that's going to be key. And it was a piece around, do you mind me mentioning what it is?
No, that's
No,
fine.
it was a piece around your dad.
Yeah.
You really, you know, you love your dad. You're very strongly connected to your dad, and your dad has passed. Yeah. And I won't go into all the details of it, because, but there just felt like there was a piece around Karina's dad giving his blessing to Karina for this pregnancy. And so I was like, right, I just have to follow this intuition, and I need to just throw everything at Karina, because she's thrown everything at it. And if I don't do this, I feel like I'm holding back as a coach, and I don't want to do that. I wanted to give you everything. So I was like, right. And I wrote you a meditation that to kind of address this piece. And well, you can take over from here.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted that to come up in this conversation, because I think that even though we've done so much work already on all the other aspects of my life, I do think that was very much key in the outcome. So in that meditation, you had a bit in there about a visualization with my dad and him giving his blessing, and I felt I could literally, it's so hard to explain, but I could feel a shift in my head. I could feel something change. And I just don't know how else to explain it, but I felt like it made a difference. And I felt so good after, and I had some tears, but I just felt good. And I think I shared that with you straight away. I was like, wow, that was amazing, And I did it again, because I think you'd given it to me the day before the egg collection, I think, from memory. And then I did it again in the morning. And I think I even did it a few times after that again.
Yeah. I think you did it about maybe 4 times or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's great, because repetition is key. But if you were really still getting something from it, and that meeting with your dad and things like that, then go for it.
Made me feel really good.
Yeah. So why not do it again, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that was a big factor in conceiving.
Because I mean, a lot of what I do is trying to find those unconscious conflicts that live within our head. And this was a conflict. This was something that was, because our unconscious mind is designed to keep us safe. And that part of you or whatever was keeping you safe from pregnancy, as I see it.
And I agree. And it took a long time for us to uncover that, because it wasn't an obvious thing. It was a comment that my dad made when I was 18, and it was one little comment. So it wasn't clear to me, or even to you, I think, at the start. I mean, we just didn't uncover it. We had so many other things we were working on, but then obviously, I feel that was in my subconscious.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good that we found that.
Honestly, with you, like I was actually confused, and this is why I wanted to have you on here, because I was confused. Here you were, and you were throwing everything at it, and so was I, but you were just like, being super positive, really making this your own. And I was like, this woman is amazing, and you really went out there and you changed everything around for yourself, your emotions, your mindset. And I'm like, this woman is doing everything right. Like, what gives? Like, what is this missing piece? And then, kind of when I, had that little, light bulb moment, and I was just like, okay. And it gnawed away at me for a little while. And I was like, all right, okay, this is it. I just have to do this. And, and I just knew I felt deep down that this was your conflict, but I didn't know how you were going to take it at the same time. And thankfully you took it very well. And, and you resolved it. And that throwaway line when you're 18, that just protected you because of your strong connection to your dad. And when we resolved that, 2 weeks later, bada bing, bada boom.
That's right. It worked that quickly.
It really did. It really did.
Yeah.
And how many weeks pregnant are you now?
26 weeks today.
Hooray!
So, I know, very exciting. So past all of the hurdles, I did hold my breath a bit. Actually, I thought I'd be a bit more nervous because of, these miscarriages that I'd had. I thought I'd be more worried. But again, I think because of the work that we'd done, I wasn't as anxious as I thought getting to the 12-week mark.
No,
and
you
maybe
weren't at all.
And I think intuitively I knew that this was different this time. I think because of that shift in my head from that meditation about my dad. And so we got past we did the nest test and the 12 weeks, and here we are, and everything's going perfectly. I've had no hurdles along the way. So
And how is your pregnancy going? I actually haven't asked you. No. It's been an easy pregnancy.
I had a little bit of nausea up till about week 9,
but no vomiting or anything.
No. And from then I felt good. Tired. I was tired in that first trimester a lot, but not sick. And then this second trimester I've been feeling great.
Well, so everyone says the second trimester is like the golden part, and then you start getting a little bit more tired again. But it doesn't have to be. It's not like the first trimester of tiredness, so don't worry about that.
But it's good because I'm still keeping up with a lot of the things that you taught me along the way. So I'm still doing some swimming, like trying to stay fit and healthy. And the yoga and meditation, and I'm trying to finish the study that I've been doing on the side before the baby comes, so that I've got that behind me. So
I love your story so much, because on paper you shouldn't probably be pregnant. You're how old? Tell everybody.
So I'm 41 now.
41.
So I'll be almost 42 by the time the baby comes.
Exactly. This is another reason I wanted to bring people on. It's like all that you had been through, like the miscarriages, doing everything right, and the horrendous kind of IVF results that you were getting. So many people would have just, tucked up their tail and gone, okay, it's not meant to be, and spiraled down into collapsed on the floor and sobbing their life away. And yet, you didn't. You did the work, and you got pregnant at 41 rather than 38, rather than all these other times, which I just find so amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I was going to mention that yeah, again, that Karina was such a good sport during our time together that, you know, she was going along with me going, oh, I'm doing a channeling course. Can I channel your higher self and things like that? And there were some fun times because I was just, I was practicing, and it really helped with how connected we were. And I remember doing one, and it was the first one I'd done with you, and I was like, oh, I really feel like I want to sing right now. I really, you know, feel like singing. And it was this weird feeling. And then I messaged Karina the next day and going, okay, I did it last night. Here's what happened. And she goes, oh, at that exact time, I was doing my singing practice in the lounge room, weren't you? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think you had heard, or like you tuned into like a la 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 sort of noise.
Yes.
And I had been doing like practicing this
Your scales. Yeah.
Right at that time. You said, what were we doing at 8 o'clock? And I'm like, that would have been right when I was doing scales.
And it was just totally bizarre. I mean, you could have been doing any number of things, and that's what you were doing. I mean, I didn't even know you did scales in your singing practice. So I was just like, what is this? So I love that about you. But another thing that I did, which I've been holding out on you for some time, was when Karina was going through all this IVF troubles and things like that, I sat down and I kind of went, okay, I'm just going to do some intuitive work here and just channeling with her permission, of course. I always have to do this with permission. And I just kind of asked a bunch of questions, and I don't know, you know, if some of it was fluke or whatever, but I asked a bunch of questions, and one of them was like, when is Karina going to conceive? And Karina kept asking me and asking me and asking me for the answer. And I was like, absolutely not. I am not going to tell you for one reason. And that's because we can get our conscious mind, or our, you know, this logical brain, which we try and logic everything, can get hung up on these months or whatever. And when, you know, and put all our hope into it. And when it doesn't work on that month or whatever, you're just like, you know, you're so extra disappointed because you put everything into that month, rather than, oh, this could be the month, but it could be next month, or it could be the month after. And, you know, when you're not attached to that time, then it can be a lot easier on the journey when you're not attached to it. So I absolutely didn't want to tell you. But I wrote down all the reasons that I felt like had blocked Karina along the way as well. And, you know, Karina also knows what I think the sex of her baby is. But I'm so happy to be wrong. I'm so happy to be wrong. I don't mind. It's something that I'm kind of honing and practicing. So we'll see at the end of that one. But I wanted to share with you today, and I'll share with you after the little screen cap that I took of the note that I made, and it's all time stamped and everything, so I haven't made it up. But the month that I wrote down that I thought you were going to get pregnant was September.
Oh my God.
When did you get pregnant?
September.
September. And so when everything aligned and you got pregnant in September, I'm like, yes, on one level, but I was like, yes, it just feels right. But, you know, so much.
Amazing.
I know. I was shocked by it as well. So I was really shocked. But again, I didn't want to get you hung up on that, you know, if things didn't work out, because, you know, it required, you know, me to write that meditation, for you to decide that you were going to try naturally as well with this transfer. You know, it required for the egg not to make it. You know, it's like so many things, but the stars aligned, and that's what happened.
Wow, that is amazing.
So I was just like, I was right. Yes, but I was so happy at the same time because it's like,
Yeah.
yes, this has happened for this beautiful woman, and she deserves it more than anything in the anything in the world. Because you went through such a process, but you did all the work, and you found out what your passion was in life. You made your life like so much better than, I mean, and I only say this because you've said this to me before, so much better than it was before you even started your fertility journey.
Yeah, definitely.
You're carving out this amazing life for yourself. You found that meaning and that passion for yourself just in life in general. You were willing to not let this fertility journey drag you down any longer. It was just, for a while there was just maybe something a little bit shitty happening on the side, but the
Yeah.
rest of your life was so good that you were able to handle that and process that and deal with that. I mean, as a result of our work together, I could, I take note of things and I see the changes, but your cycles had regulated themselves pretty
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
apart from being irregular. And that was just from the work we were doing together.
Yeah.
You just took everything and you were like, oh yeah, this minute thing that's happening in my relationship, I'm going to go and do something about that. And so you did, and that clarity really brought you and your husband closer together.
Mm.
Like, you left no stone unturned of just locking in any, uncovering any of those little resistances and knocking
Yeah.
them on their head and just getting rid of them. And the changes in you have just been so amazing. I'm blessed now to call you my friend, because we just grew so close
Yeah, we
through this process. And, who wouldn't want to be friends with this amazing lady? And I
did.
cannot wait to get those baby pictures when this
I know.
beautiful little bubba is born. Yeah, and I'm so blessed that we met, and
Me too.
I'm grateful for who you are and that you really, really took this on board and ran with it. Um, yeah, it
Mm.
made me feel good as a coach as well.
Well, it should, because honestly, I wouldn't be here without you. I wouldn't be where I am today, certainly, and I wouldn't be expecting my little bubba in 14 weeks, give or take.
Oh, it's so
So,
exciting!
honestly, I think I'd still be in that same, where I was 2 years ago without you.
Mm.
So now here I'm pregnant and yeah, got a great friend as well.
Yay! So I wrote down some questions. So I've just been looking at those to see if there's anything else, because um, I told Karina before this, but I was actually nervous about this podcast when we first started, because she's so amazing and her story is so amazing. I wanted to make sure that we got out all the gems that we came across along the way, and there were just so many that I'm sure we haven't remembered half of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people, from this will have gotten the essence of your story, just how amazing, it has been from from start to finish. But even just from starting coaching to now, that she let go of that timepiece, because when we started our journey, it was, you were 39. Yes, you were
Yeah.
39.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because I did read your questionnaire the other day, and it was just like, I just want to be pregnant by the time I'm 40.
Yeah.
So I knew that timepiece was something that we had to let go of, because it's like, okay, what if it doesn't happen by the time you're 40? And while we did a lot of work, you went and did a lot of work by yourself, and that was not necessarily, that wasn't like a checklist of like, I've got to do these things, I've got to take this supplement and do this and do this. This was just activities, I guess, to get to actually change your life, to be the person that you are. So now it's a state of being rather than doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Sometimes we have to force ourselves to do an activity, like, okay, I'm going to bring some fun into my life and go and do some singing, but then welcoming in how that makes us feel, and then realizing that there's a life outside of that we can create for ourselves and create a good life while we're still on this journey. So now you could probably do nothing and still feel great. I mean, you're pregnant, so I mean that helps. but you know what I mean? It's like you changed your mindset through some of these activities, but these activities, so these activities helped you to shift that energy and to be who you are now. But now you don't need those activities, but you do them because they're fun, or you don't
That's
do them
right.
because it, or because you're moving on to something else or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to share
I
about
don't
your
think
journey? Yeah.
no, just how grateful I am, I suppose, that I came across you in the first place. Because if it hadn't been for that 5-day mind body challenge, and then having that coaching, I think my life would still be very different today. Not in a good way. Because
Yeah.
that's right. Even if I wasn't pregnant now, at least having had that coaching with you, I'd be enjoying my life, and
Yeah.
that's what's important. Because you gotta love life every day. So that it really turned everything around. So
That's such a great message, and it's something that I say a lot, is that life is meant to be enjoyed, but
yes,
that's so hard to hear when you are in the depths of a fertility journey and it's just not working. That can be like a really, like, what do you mean? How am I meant to enjoy my life? And
yeah,
yet you are living proof that it's possible, because I think I have a testimonial from you on my website right now that was like, this is the best thing I've done, this was amazing, you really should try it, and I know that you know I can't remember the exact words, but you were just so grateful at that point, and you weren't pregnant. You weren't
that's right.
pregnant, but you were loving your life and you weren't pregnant, and I loved that, and that's why I kind of keep that testimonial there. But I did have to put a little thing, she was pregnant 2 months later at the bottom. Because
That's right.
you stuck it out and we got there in the end.
Yes. That's right.
how,
And
how do you feel though, like that all this coaching will set you up for motherhood?
oh yeah, again, that's another benefit of it, because I think um just having that different mindset. I feel like, well, again, I've worked a lot on patience, so I think I'm a lot more patient than I was
That
in the
helps
beginning.
being a
Yes.
mum. Yeah, it does.
But just being able to live life and have fun, because I want to be a fun mum and not be tired and stressed out. And so I think it will help me a lot. And again, I said it's been quite a spiritual journey, again, like just getting in touch with my intuition and really listening to myself and making my own decisions and doing that meditation. And I think a lot of that will help in motherhood and in parenting, because again, I think I've got a little bit of it, not as much yet as I think I will, but everyone wants to give their opinions about how you should raise children, and I think everyone has to do what's right for them, and every child is different. So I think it's giving me skills to be able to make decisions for me and my child, without as we said before, going around asking every single person what they think.
Yeah,
And obviously it's always good to get some knowledge and experience from
absolutely.
friends.
Yeah. And your doctor and things like that. Yeah, I'm not advocating not asking for those medical opinions and things like that.
Yeah. And then
But
make my own decision at the end of the
mm,
day.
because sometimes those decisions, those intuitive decisions, do fly in the face of the medical opinion. And that's
Mm,
okay though, because I think when it's coming from you and you're comfortable with that decision, then you're going to look back and go, okay, I don't regret that. It's
that's right.
when we're not listening to ourselves that I think that a lot of that regret comes in, when it's just based on fear and desperation, which I
That's
totally
right.
get. Oh, I was so
Yeah.
there myself, once before I just went, I'm going to do this differently. So that's why I love what I do and helping beautiful women like you who are really so ready to do it differently, to get your life back and conceive your baby with a whole lot more ease and grace. All right, my beautiful lady, I'm going to let you go and get back to your wonderful Saturday. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast and sharing your amazing story. Thank you. Sharing your amazing story with my audience, who I'm sure are going to really get a lot out of today. So
happy to help.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.